Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. This is our 190th episode on a beautiful Wednesday. And good morning to everyone who's here live today. Good to see you. And to everyone who's watching later in the archive, welcome. And we're so excited to have you with us. This is Fuel for Success, where we give you motivation and energy and fuel in your tank to be successful every single day in 5 different key areas. And today is Wednesday, so the key area we're focused on today is spirituality. Just like every single Wednesday, that's what we're talking about. And my good friend Matt Maddox is here with us today. My co-host, my cohort, my partner in crime. No crimes committed.
Partner in changing the world.
That's right. How are you today?
Partner in being psycho. Mike, this is the show where we talk about what to do and what not to do, what to say and what not to say, what to be and what not to be. That's right. We mentor in those 2 different ways. A lot of times we tell you what not to do as much as we tell you what to do. And when we're saying what to do, when Mike and I are teaching or motivating or imparting, it's because of what we have experienced and what we've learned. So do we know it all? No, but pretty close to it. No, not at all. I'm just kidding. We're learning, and we're on the same journey you are. We've walked down a lot of the paths that you're walking, and so we come here every day. I was thinking today, Mike, this is a big commitment to do this show every morning at 9 a.m. It's a big commitment to both of us to spend 30 minutes, and then, of course, people don't realize the pre-show and post-production. But it's our honor. It is our privilege to give back. This is a give back. So I tell people all the time, we charge for our speaking and coaching services, obviously, but there's so much that we give back to. For example, I feel like you and I do a 30-minute seminar every day for people for free. Right. And the beauty of it is anybody on this planet can ask us questions, and we answer them on this show, and you can interact with us right here in the chat box. So we're actually here as a service to you to give back and to serve and to be a blessing. So that's what we're looking forward to.
That's absolutely correct. And Q&A is a big thing today, and I think it grants access. And so when you're here live, by all means, take advantage of it. Ask questions right over there in the chat box. If you're watching later or you don't feel like interacting live, or maybe you're on your phone and have a difficult time doing that, email me, mike@mattmaddox.com, any questions you might have, or comments, right, or suggestions. Or, if you don't like where my clock's...
Or chew us out.
Yeah.
Chew us out. Give us one good chewing. This is my philosophy. You're going to chew us out, like royally chew us out. I mean, rip into us. Don't just try to casually do it. I want it straight.
Right. Or you can also text us, 727-341-5599. Carol's asking what you want for your birthday, Mr. Maddox.
What do I want for my birthday? If I could have one thing, what would it be? Well, I'd love to go on a cruise. Let's see, what else would I want? A day off. How about just give me one day off? How's that sound?
Thus it has been decreed. You have one day off. Done.
Julie is asking when my birthday is. It's actually Saturday, Julie, and I'll actually be with my son, and we're actually in a baseball tournament, so there'll be no day off on my birthday. In fact, our first game of our tournament is at 8 a.m. on Saturday, so I can't even sleep in on my own birthday.
You'll have to...
I'm okay with it.
Delayed gratification is the secret to success, so maybe you'll have to take Monday off.
Well, you know what? Somebody has already bought me a cake from Whole Foods, and I'm picking it up on Friday. So
nice.
That was a very nice gesture, and I'm not gonna lie, it is a really, really good cake. So I've been working out, feeling good. I'm gonna go in on some cake on Friday, so it's looking good. Yeah, Al's right. I'm turning 29, still young. But thanks, Julia, for the happy birthday. Appreciate that. Very kind of you. Mike, tell us what's in store today, my friend.
Well, today, just like every Wednesday, we're going to talk about spirituality. We've got some questions today about faith, about keeping faith, building faith, maintaining faith in situations. And I, for one, am excited to talk about this because this is something that everybody deals with. We are, of course, men of faith, and sometimes more so than we even realize. And so we're gonna dive into some of those questions. Let me ask you this. So, and someone watching this show may look at us and think, some of the Mission 25 work that we do and some of the other ministry things, and think, man, these guys are on cloud nine when it comes to faith, and may forget that we also have tough times when it comes to faith as well. And we go through things and issues, and I like what you said before. We're speaking from experience. I, for one, have made a ton of mistakes, and so hopefully learned from it and can speak to that experience. But let me ask you this: how do you keep your faith in tough times?
Well, Mike, that's a good question. How do you keep? Because I'm a human being like anybody else, and Mike and I, you're right, Mike. We've gone through those moments where we've stepped out by faith. It's scary because we're still human, and faith is faith. It's exactly what it is. It's faith. You can't feel it, you can't touch it, you can't even see it. You just have to trust and know that first and foremost, it starts with what Jesus said. Jesus literally said these words in Mark chapter 11: have faith in God. What keeps my faith strong is what the Bible says: the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. So in other words, when you know God and you really have a relationship with Him, then faith becomes easy, believe it or not, even in tough times. How do you keep it? Well, you do the basics. Number one, you keep your eyes on Jesus and you stay focused, and you don't allow present circumstances or storms or hard times to define you or to rattle your faith. You don't go, you know how you keep your faith? By ignoring the feelings.
Right.
People think that faith is feeling. Faith has nothing to do with feeling. There's times I don't feel faith, okay? But it's still there. I still know that I know that God's going to back us up. God's going to show up. God's going to provide. God's going to open doors. God is going to give wisdom and faith. In other words, when you know that God can't fail, no offense, why worry? When you know that God can't, listen, it's like this is why we've got to get, how you keep the faith is literally the Word. The more Scripture that you can get in you, that it makes you more solid. Whenever you're going through the hard times, you're able to stand strong because you know that those hard times are actually beautiful and they're actually gold, and actually they're a blessing. And actually, in actuality, in reality, you're going to look back and some of the worst days of your life are going to turn out to be the best days of your life. And some of the hardest things you've ever faced are going to turn out to be the things that made you the person that you are today. So, the longer you live, Mike, it's kind of like, I love what you said one day when you and I were talking business. You're like, hey, this ain't my first rodeo. It's just that saying. It was like, bam! This ain't my first rodeo. So when you've been there, and you've seen God do it before, that's why David was so courageous in facing Goliath, because David had a God file. All he had to do was remember what God did in the past. And I think that's so important, Mike, is to always remember what God has done before. Remember that old song? He'll do it again, right?
I don't know that one.
So, anyways, that's one of my favorite songs. I may not know how, I may not know when, but he'll do it again. I don't even know if I got the tune right, but at least you get the gist of it. Anyways, Mike.
I get the gist of it.
It's my best advice.
Hey, I love what you said too about faith isn't a feeling. Actually, faith is equal parts belief and action, right? You can't have one without the other, without acting, without believing and without acting. And a great example, if you want to a boiled down just nugget of faith in action in the Bible, is when Joshua, led the priests and the Ark of the Covenant across the Jordan River, after Moses had passed away and they were going into the Promised Land. And they literally, it says the priests went to step into the Jordan River, and that's when it parted. That's when God stopped the water and they were able to walk across. But it wasn't until they were literally about to step into it was a flooded, raging river. And they went to step into it. So they had to believe and they had to act. And so it's equal parts belief
That's
and
power.
action. You can't have one without the other. One half of it isn't faith. It's belief by itself isn't faith. It's belief and action that is faith. So,
Ooh, that's actually good. Mike, when you said the word literally, do you mean like literally?
yeah, I didn't even catch that. We've been doing better though.
Now, you said it twice. It's okay. I'm not counting because I'm purposely trying not to use that word anymore, but you're twice in today. But you know what? Whenever you're talking Bible, you can say literally.
Well,
Because it is literally.
sometimes it's the right word. Although I think it was Mark Twain that said the difference between the right word and the almost right word is like the difference between a horse and a horseshoe. They're two completely different things. I think that's what he said.
Mike is a walking quoter. Whenever I need quotes, I just call Mike. I say, I need a quote.
Yeah, and if I don't have one,
And
I'll just make one up. and then
Exactly.
he'll tweet it. Be like, no, I'm just kidding.
yeah,
That's never
I
happened.
love it. Mike knows I tweet. Mike has all my passwords because that way, if I ever tweet something that's just, he just knows to like go in and like shut it
Like,
down.
no, Matt.
I ain't got nothing to hide. I don't mind Mike having my passwords. That guy would kill for me.
That's right.
Anyways, go ahead, Mike. Tell us what's question number 2, my friend.
So, everybody that watches the show may not have the same walk of faith that we have and the same walk with God. Why is faith so important to being a successful person, having a successful life?
Mike, faith is so important in your walk with God because the Bible says that without faith you can't even please God, right? And we're all trying to please God. None of us are perfect. But it takes faith to please God because, God is literally insulted when we doubt. It's an insult. It's actually a slap in the face. It is such an insult to God when we doubt. So that's number 1. Number 2, Mike, to live out your life's purpose, passion, and calling, you got to have faith. Listen, everybody talks about following your passion. Everybody talks about finding your purpose. Following your passion and finding your purpose is the easy part. It's that one word that Mike talked about. It's action. Okay, now that you have found your purpose and you know what your passion is, are you ready to roll up your sleeve and do the work? Are you ready to take the risk? Are you ready to sometimes, Mike, faith equals looking like an idiot. Sometimes you literally look like an idiot when you walk by faith or you have faith. People don't get it. People don't get you. And too many people, they're still addicted to people pleasing. They want everyone to like them. They want everyone to think they're cool. They want to fit in. Listen, you're not going to change the world fitting in. You're not going to change you're not going to follow your passion, I'm talking about your passion and live out your life's mission and purpose by being a person that tries to fulfill the status quo and push all the right buttons. Look, man, faith is risky. Faith requires you to sometimes stand alone, sometimes ignore the voices of critics. You ready for this? Ignore all the voices in your head that tells you, what are you thinking? What are you have you ever had someone look at you and say, what are you thinking? Like, that's embarrassing sometimes when you're like, you step out by faith and your dearest loved ones and friends are like, Maddox, no offense, bro. What's in that juice you've been putting in your NutriBullet there, man? That's like, I've had friends say, Matt, I love you. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then they all come back later and say, dude, I'm so sorry. You were so right. I'm like, come on, bring it. Tell me more. Say it again. Hold on. Say it again. I got to record this. Anyways, it just requires, Mike, faith is so important because you can't do life the way God. Mike, God did not intend for us to be passive or lazy or average or lukewarm. God did not intend for us to just get by. God intended us to blow it up, to excel, to succeed, to dominate, to become a genius, to master, to have high success. God wants us to be abundant. That's why he said, I come to give you life and life more abundant. That, my friends, requires faith. Faith to believe that, you know what? You don't have to stay broke the rest of your life. You don't have to be miserable. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to repeat family patterns of abuse. You don't have to be a victim the rest of your life. You don't have to settle for average. You don't have to marry the wrong one. You don't have to get sick. You don't have to get diseases. You don't have to die of cancer. Like, faith takes you to a place where, you believe. I'll give you an example. I ran out of protein powder this morning after making my protein shake. My protein powder is like $28, and I've made it a habit when I see something saying I can afford that, instead of being like, oh, I'm out of protein powder, or like when I bought my 2-ounce wheatgrass, it was $7.48. I'm like, you know what? I can afford this. Even if I can't afford it, I still project that faith. It's like sometimes I used to look at cars and say, you know what? I can afford that. I can drive that. Or I'll see a house and I'll say, I'm next. It's just projecting faith and never speaking negative or doubt. Listen, we're talking about God, Mike. God can handle our boldness. God can handle us saying, just like my son. My son has never, in his 12 and 3/4 years of life, almost 13 in 2 months, he has never been bashful about what he wants. Do you think God gets his feelings hurt because we tell God, you know what? It's like I had a lady in my church way back. She was praying for a car, and she was like, please just pray that God blesses me with a car. I just need something to get me to work, and just it doesn't have to have air conditioning. I don't even need a CD player. And I'm literally looking at her like this. I'm like, wait a minute. Let me get this straight. You want me to walk in before the King of Kings, God, who created the world, God who literally said, let there be light, and there was light, God who loves you as you're his own daughter, and you want me to say, God, can you bless so-and-so in case you're watching? Good lesson learned for her, by the way. God, please, she don't need air conditioning. Do you think God's impressed by you saying you don't need air conditioning? Do you think you touched God's heart by saying, Lord, I don't need a CD player? No! Walk in and say, Lord, I want a car, and to be real with you, I want one of those CD players. I want kicking speakers. I want that thing to, I want air conditioning to blow so strong that even when it's on one, it's freezing cold.
It's good. It's a good lesson. Hey, I was going to mention too. Some people may look at a lot of the large steps of faith and think, like, for example, starting a missions movement. Like, wow, that's amazing. Mission 25. What a huge step of faith. I wish I could be there. I wish I could get there. And I would encourage you to say, listen, it takes a lot of small steps to build up to that. Don't ignore the small steps of faith in your life, like every day, that God is asking you to take. And so, if you want to be, taking great steps of faith, you need to start with smaller steps. And some people think, well, I'm going to wait for that one big thing that God's going to call me to do. And you know what? God's not going to call you to do that big thing until you're obedient in the smaller things.
Britain is a winner, and that's a good point, Mike. Britain's got a right mentality here, and so does Sanya, and so does Julia, and so does Stacy. Stacy, I want to give you a shout out. Thanks for always being so nice to Mike and I. Mission 25. She works a lot behind the scenes trying to pull things off. I think she just got 2 juicers sent to Mission 25, so thank you. But yeah, Mike, I agree with that. And you're right. People do say to us, oh, I'd love to be able to do what you do. And then we usually look at each other and laugh, and we're like, yeah, right. I'll bet you would love it, wouldn't you? Tell you what you would do. You would be needing drugs if you did what we did. Take special people, my friends. Can you handle the pressure? That's my question. Can you handle the pressure? If you can't handle the pressure, stay away. But if you're ready for the pressure, get ready. You can get a lot of good things in life and have a lot of fun and a lot of adventure and a lot of miracles, man.
Right. Little phonetic help there. It's Sanya like lasagna. All right. Hey,
Mike, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that. That does help. That really does.
that does.
Thanks for the word picture of lasagna. You know how I am about word pictures. Mike will say something, I'll be like, say it one more time again. This time, like, paint a picture for me.
This time, make it English.
Eliminate about 10 of the words you use so I don't have to look them up later. And paint me a picture. Tell me a story, Mike. Tell what you just said in a story, my friend.
Stories are powerful.
I work in stories and pictures, huh?
Stories are powerful. Hey, I touched on a little bit taking small steps of faith, but how are some ways that someone can get more faith, like increase their faith?
Get more faith, hanging out with other people that listen. It's the simplest rule of life, and it's actually a Bible principle. It's a proverb. He says, "He that walks with wise men shall be wise." Basically, you decide what you want to become, then you find people like that, and you start rubbing shoulders with them. So getting around people that have faith, associating with them, start attending Mission 25. You'll get some faith, baby. I'll guarantee you'll get some faith. Take more risk. Pray bigger prayers. Think bigger. Faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word. So hear a lot of word. Listen to faith preachers. I love you, but hopefully your preacher's a faith preacher. If not, then YouTube is your only hope. Or Fuel for Success, of course. But, I know, Julia. I would try, though. Give me one and I'll try it. But yeah, Mike, to me, that's the answer to more faith. You got to, what I just said, if you'll do the things that I just said, you'll get more faith. But the thing about faith is understand that usually pressure, problems, trials, difficulties, that's what really produces faith. We think that faith comes after like some miracle happens. Actually, faith comes in the darkness. Faith comes when there's trouble and stress and pressure and situations that are out of your control. That's where your faith really grows. That's where you really develop faith. So if you're in hell and you're in the heat and you're in the struggle and you're having so much pressure, you're having a hard time breathing, your faith is growing. You're developing faith. That's how God does it. He uses pressure to build faith in us. So be careful when you say, I want more faith, because usually that equals God saying, okay, pulls the rug out from underneath you, and all of a sudden you're out walking on water and there's nothing comfortable, nothing feels safe,
Yeah, I would also encourage people to take those small steps of faith, and it's about acting. It's about being obedient. Again, faith is two parts. It's obedience and it's belief, and it's not enough just to believe. You have to obey. And so what are we doing?
Hold on.
Okay.
I got to get a picture of Carol's comment. You are so right in that. Holy. Talk about faith! Talk about, this is a perfect analogy, right? Do you know what I've gone through to hear these words right here? That's the first time in the... Hold on.
This is a breakthrough moment.
That is miraculous. What's that, Mike?
This is a breakthrough moment. Truly.
Massive. I love you, though, Carol. Carol and I are buds. People don't realize how tight of buds we are. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, Mike. What were you saying? I'm sure it was good.
I'm sure it was not important. No, so faith is equal parts of obedience and belief, and it's not enough just to believe. You also have to obey. You have to act on your faith, on your belief. Otherwise, that's the way it grows, and that's the way it builds. And I like what Stacy says. Sometimes it may be as a grain of mustard seed, as the Bible says. But you take that grain of mustard seed and you do something with it. And if you don't do anything with it, it just sits there in the seed envelope, I guess. Doesn't do anybody any good. You got to take that seed and do something with it, and then it'll grow. I'm Ryder. Carol says I'm Ryder.
You're Ryder, my friend.
Oh, right.
Good save, Carol. That's actually good, Mike, and I agree. Faith, faith is like a muscle. You've got to work it out for it to grow.
Right. Hey, what's the best faith lesson you've ever learned?
For me, Mike, the best faith lesson I ever learned was the day that God spoke to me that he would love me the same way I loved Caleb. That set me free for life. Like, I am so relaxed because I know how much I love my son and I know what I would do for him. And I know the extra mile that I go, and I know how much I love to surprise him and give to him and bless him and lead him. It's like if Caleb was trying to choose between 5 colleges, right? And he asked me to pick the college for him, like I would pick the best one, right? So when you start leaving your life choices up to God and you realize, you know what? God's choice is going to be best. And that was a hard lesson for me, Mike, as a planner, as a guy that's like, likes everything to be figured out, is to relax and like really know that God is going to pick the best for you in every situation. That's why in my life, I promise you, I literally have the best of everything. I mean everything. I have the best business partner in the world. I have the best of friends. I have the best family. I live in the best city in America. I have the best. I have the best kid. We have the best baseball coach for my son. The list goes on and on. The best always shows up in my life because I've really given that to God and said, okay, God, I want the best.
That's good.
That was a hard lesson for me, Mr. Mike. What about you? What was a tough faith lesson for you?
A tough faith lesson? I'll tell you, this kind of is similar to what Britton shared with her car story, but a little over a year ago, it wasn't really as tough as much as just faith building. It was a lesson that I learned about being specific and being bold in my faith, and I'd finished a job and left that job because of the end of a grant contract thing, whatever, and didn't have any work. And my wife and I literally sat down, wrote out on a sheet of paper exactly what we wanted for a job. It was like 8:00 at night. And before we went to bed that night, I had the job. And that to me, being very specific, saying like, here's the things we have to have, here's the things we'd like to have, and everything on the list we had within like 90 minutes. It was unbelievable. That to me was like,
that's actually powerful.
Yeah. And it was a completely, it would have been unrealistic for me to just say, hey, I want this tonight. But I said, God, I want you to open the door and give us this. This is what we need. You see the work that we're doing? Just help us get this. And then it was like 60 minutes later, the phone rang. It was, the guys that ended up being my business partners for the last year and a half. And so there you go. Hey, I did want to.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I didn't see this.
I remember you.
Have a little delay.
I remember you sharing that moment with you, and I also remember even in you telling that story again, it re-impacts me to do the same thing in every area of my life.
Yeah, be specific and have faith. Here, I didn't see this earlier from Marie, so I wanted to bring it up here for the last few minutes of the show. For some reason I can't read the whole thing. But her step.
I'll read it. Is that from Maria?
Marie and our good friend Marie in Canada, yeah.
Not just good friend, really good friend. Really, really good
Marie's
friend.
first class.
Stepmom is fairly new Christian, has just gone through radiation and chemo. Sorry to hear that, Maria. She finds out this Friday if it's worked. I believe God can and wants to heal her, but if he doesn't, she believes and I believe, but your faith sure does take a beating. Yes, it does take a beating, and that's the side of faith that a lot of people misunderstand, Maria, and I'm praying with you guys. Very sorry to hear this, and I hope it comes out, and I'm trusting it will. The part about faith that confuses people is the sovereignty of God and how God decides to do things that ultimately, in the end, and no matter what the outcomes are always for our good, even though we don't see it in the moment. And I'm not giving this as an answer to your situation, Maria, at all. All I'm acknowledging is the faith taking a beating I get that. I've been through that. I've been through times where I literally told God, sitting down, Lord, I'm going to be real with you. I don't believe you anymore. Right? But your faith does take a beating. And that's what makes your faith stronger, though, is that beating, is that tough time, that struggle, that time when, it just doesn't seem to make sense, but yet you hold on. That time when you say, God, it's like the blind man. I believe, but help my unbelief, or you believe something. And at the end of the day, too, and I'm not giving an answer to your particular situation because I'm cautious about that, is there are times when life is just life and God allows life to take its course and doesn't always, not always does God, that's a deep subject right there. Hopefully what little bit I said, Maria, helps.
That's good. And Stacy's asking for your stepmom's name, Marie. Probably some folks on here would like to pray for her. By all means. Her name is Ellie.
Touch her right now. Jesus' name. Heal Ellie.
Jesus' name.
Be praying with you, Maria. Let us know. Keep us posted, okay? But I get the nervous part about, but if he doesn't. But when you have that faith breakthrough, the but if he doesn't is okay, but you got to be careful of any buts or if, and I know that's it's easier said than done, right? But faith gets to the breakthrough place where there is no but if. It's, I know God's going to do it. And that's again, it's easier said than done.
Awesome. Hey, great show. Just to summarize, faith is necessary to our success. We talked about some great ways to increase faith and why faith is so important. I appreciate your input today, my friend.
Hey, thank you, my friend. Enjoy being with you. Tomorrow is our show on business and entrepreneurship. We got some upcoming guests. Tomorrow, we're going to be interviewing a man by the name of Jay Combs. And then we got Ali Carr coming up as well. So we got a good couple of interviews ahead for our business and entrepreneurship show. Hey, we love you guys. Thanks for joining with us live. Those that are watching later on the archive, thank you as well. If these shows are a help and a blessing and you think they'll help other people, please pass it along. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. All you got to do is copy and paste this link. You can text it to people and people can watch this show from their phone. So if you know someone that needs encouragement from today's show about faith, pass it along, put it on your Facebook, send it out on Twitter, text it to friends, email it to friends, give it to coworkers, give it to your mothers, give it to your kids. God bless my friends. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for the kind words, Melody. Thank you for all you faithful viewers and all your kind comments. We love y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Have a good day, everyone.